Home Secretary Suella Braverman has been speaking out quite boldly at Tory party conference. And at this event hosted by The Telegraph, she showed just how bad her grasp of history really is.
Can I ask you a personal question? Your parents are from Mauritius and Kenya. How do you feel about stopping other people arriving here?
I have no qualms about that, absolutely. Again, this is a kind of a common argument trotted out by the left that, you know, because of the colour of my skin and my heritage, I have to think a certain way and I can't declare certain truths on migration.
You annoy them, don't you? Because you're not left-wing.
I hope I annoy them. That would be my delight if I'm annoying the left. But no, I disagree with that. My parents came here through safe and legal routes. My mother was recruited by the NHS. My dad came here because he was effectively kicked out of Kenya in the 1960s. But they came here legitimately. That was the policy of the government. They came here, they integrated, they loved this country from afar as children of empire. They don't, by the way, have any qualms about extolling the virtues of the British Empire. It was the British Empire that brought infrastructure, the legal system, the civil service, the military to countries like Mauritius and Kenya. And my parents are so proud. On my mum's side there, I think it's her great uncle and auntie fought with the Allies in World War II, and they were so proud of that. So I think, you know, children of empire, there's obviously a mixed picture, and obviously there are bad things about empire. But
history is complex.
History is complex and nuanced, and I'm not going to apologise for empire. I'm not going to apologise for our past. History
Should we
is
be proud of empire? Should we be prouder? I
am proud of the British Empire.
Wow. The example of Kenya is a particularly interesting one when you think that as recently as the 1950s, between 1951 and 1960, Britain was at war with something called the Mau Mau Uprising. As many as 1.5 million people were forcibly detained. Maybe more than 100,000 people died. There was extraordinary punishment meted out to what were called Mau Mau rebels. There were even operations performed by local white settlers compared to Dr. Joseph Mengele and what happened under the Third Reich. It is extraordinary in 2022 that this would not just be defended by a serving British politician, but celebrated by them. The conversation soon turned to Braverman's favourite topic, migration. And it won't come as a surprise to learn that what she had to say was full of authoritarian hatred.
Small boats, that really annoys our readers, members here, I'm sure. Why can't you stop the small boats coming?
It's a deeply entrenched and complex problem. That's a simple answer. And I would love to be here saying, well, claiming victory. I would love to be having a front page of the Telegraph with a plane taking off to Rwanda. That's my dream. That's my dream. It's
when
my
will
obsession.
That happen?
When will it happen? Listen, you've got to ask the courts about that.
By Christmas?
That would be amazing. But if I'm honest, I think it's going to take long. I think, you know, we've got to come out of the legal dispute that we are currently embroiled in. So the High Court, we're still at first instance. The High Court is due to give a judgment later this month. If we win, that will be appealed. So then we'll have to wait for the Court of Appeal to adjudicate. That will take a few more months. If we win there, that will be appealed again.
To the European Court of Human Rights?
Or the Supreme Court. We've still got to exhaust domestic remedies.
So that's the Home Secretary's dream, to witness a plane taking off to deliver refugees to a faraway country with inadequate resources to take care of them. And it's her obsession to have it splashed on the front page of The Telegraph. I get the feeling it's the front page that matters more to her. Braverman also announced that she would introduce laws to make it even easier to deport asylum seekers. These would allow her to bypass those pesky courts that keep finding the Tories' indefensible schemes illegal. And she said she wanted to create a blanket ban on asylum seekers entering the UK through regular means. In response, the UN High Commissioner on Refugees said the details of the proposals are not yet available, and UNHCR welcomes the Home Secretary's statement that the UK will always work within the bounds of international law. A blanket ban on access to asylum in the UK for those arriving irregularly would almost certainly breach the Refugee Convention. If this results in refugees being unable to exercise their convention rights, including by placing them at risk of enforced return to their own countries. Access to asylum should never be contingent on mode of arrival or nationality. The only way to establish whether people are refugees is through a fair and efficient determination of their claims, for which the UK has a clear responsibility. But what did Labour have to say on this issue? Here's Shadow Chancellor Rachel Reeves.
The Conservatives have been in government for 12 years now, and illegal immigration is on the increase. So this is a problem that's been made under their watch. They need to process claims faster, get people out of the country if they've got no right to be here, and get a grip of their failed immigration system, which is not working for British people, and it's not working for genuine asylum seekers either.
So you welcome then her plans to introduce legislation to make it easier to deport people?
Well, the problem is the government are not deporting people today, even when their claims have failed. What the government need to do is get a grip of the system, process claims quicker, ensure that people who have not got a right to be here are sent home. But that's not happening today, and that is 12 years of Tory failure.
So Labour thinks we should be deporting more asylum seekers more quickly, which is what Suella Braverman thinks too. Rachel, that's Tory policy you're endorsing there.
What's the point? Like, I don't understand what the point of the Labour Party is. And Rachel Reeves should be, I suspect she won't be, but she should be deeply ashamed of that interview. This is actually where we need to start taking Labour politicians at their word. And we need to stop giving them this benefit of the doubt that this is some kind of four-dimensional chess that they're playing, where, they're all kind of secretly progressive and, they have these Labour values or whatever. And they're doing all of this messaging wizardry in order to get into power. And then once they're in power, they will implement policies that will genuinely make life easier for marginalized people who they claim to represent. It's just not true. It is simply not true. These are hawkish and cruel policies that are being pushed by people who believe in them. And that includes Rachel Reeves, because Labour currently have enough of an upper hand to actually come out in opposition to this. And talk about how the government's policy have led to, in the fact that we don't have safe and legal routes to migration and safe and legal routes to asylum, that this is creating an issue whereby people are having to take unsafe journeys to Britain, and that the answer is not to pick someone up off a shore who is vulnerable and then fly them out to a country that they have nothing to do with. And so, there is an upper hand here. The Rwanda policy is not particularly popular. It's likely illegal. Its main architects are currently extremely weak politically. So there's no real reason for Rachel Reeves to back a policy like this, or to back the sentiment of the Rwanda policy, other than it's because, at best, she literally just doesn't really care about these people and just wants to get to the end of an interview and is an unimaginative media performer. Or at worst, and what I'm increasingly starting to believe, maybe she too dreams of planes taking frightened and vulnerable people to offshore detention centers, which we know operate as legal and human rights black holes. And that's the honest truth of it, because, this is not the first time that Labour have laid the architecture for a racist and destructive immigration system. And clearly, if Labour get into power again, it's not going to be the last, because this tack of not going for the meat of a dysfunctional and cruel policy, but actually claiming that you will be better executors of that policy, is not a winning strategy, because what it does is it makes you look like a follower to begin with. It makes you look like you have no political imagination of your own. It makes you look like you're on the back foot. And it also adds to the weight of the arguments of your opponents, who will eventually, get their crap together and will pick up from where you left off, stronger than ever, because you were, lucky for them, minding their talking points while they've been gone. That's what we saw with New Labour. That's why, you can talk as much as you like about how many Sure Start centres Labour set up and whatever. Guess what? There's barely any Short Start centres left. And it's because this is precisely the New Labour strategy of leaving intact the main narrative and talking points and frameworks of a Conservative government, tinkering around the edges, contributing to the discursive power of the Conservative way of looking at the world, so that when New Labour burn out and left power, because no party is going to be in power forever, the Conservatives were able to pick up from where they left off and, undo the minor good things that New Labour was actually able to implement, because the fundamental frameworks, the fundamental infrastructure, fundamental imagination was kept intact.